We started the relationship way back in 1963 with this Evangelical Pentecostal Union of Venezuela. Evangelical Pentecostal Union of Venezuela, which is to this day probably the most ecumenical church in Venezuela by many standards. And it's a Pentecostal church. And they were the ones who initiated through Puerto Rico, a missionary that was for many years a missionary in Venezuela, started the connection, what I always call the Puerto Rican connection with the church in Venezuela. And the then bishop of that church, Exeario Sosa, was very interested in establishing a relationship with the Christian Church Disciples of Christ in the U.S. So through Puerto Rico and his insistence of meeting leaders of the church in the United States, he came and visited, and he was so impressed when he came to the then missions building that he said, I want to have a relationship, a fraternal relationship, he called it at that time. And I was a student in Puerto Rico, and he went to the World Convention in 1965. And he met my father. And then my father said, well, we're going to continue this relationship with you. Because then the DOM named in 64 Juan Marcos Rivera and his wife Piñeiro, and they went and they did a wonderful work for 7 years. And then we had some missionaries that went to do very specific ministries in mission, in agricultural mission, in education, training leaders. That was the key issues. And then at one point, delegations to help construct new church building, a new educational center in Barquisimeto. So we kept strengthening the relationship. So now for 47 years, we have had this relationship. I myself am assigned to Venezuela, particularly to work with this church. I have been a theological advisor to that church. We have a seminary that I helped to establish there in Venezuela. We have trained some of the leaders in Costa Rica when I was the president of the seminary there. This church is always a founding member of the Latin American Council of Churches. The founder of this denomination said that he was very into what they call Simón Bolívar thinking and philosophy. So in a way now this church, when they talk about this Bolivarian revolution, is not a strange kind of topic for them. And they look at it from that ecumenical perspective. A very interesting point with this church, they have been always involved in social action, education. For many years they have run an orphanage in Barquisimeto. For many years they have related to women's issues in the country. They have been even avant-garde among Protestants in the country when it comes to issues that have to do with justice for women, for the children, for the young people. They have a very strong youth movement within the church. I always say that in the U.S. they have to insist for the churches to send young people to their assemblies. In Venezuela, it's all the way around. We have to say to the churches, remember that some of the elderly should come as delegates to our assembly, because more than 60% of all members in the churches are between 18 and 35. So we have to control the presence of young people in the assemblies. And last time that happened, always insisted, remember the elderly also should be delegates to our assemblies. And then in the juncture we are now in Venezuela, there's a lot of space for the churches to work and to do God's ministry and God's mission. And I think that the Pentecostal church is growing. Last assembly, we received 4 new congregations. I did all the Bible studies, 4 Bible studies during the assembly. And what impressed me was that of the 4 congregations, 3 of them were established by young couples. And then this is a promise for that church. And the bishop was saying in public, you see, this is what is more important, that our young people are involved actively in ministry, and they surprise us because we Pentecostals don't plan to plant churches. We do it. And here you have these three couples that come to this assembly and say, Bishop, we have 3 new congregations. Well, some of them 120 members already. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for the church to complement whatever is going on in Venezuela in the area of education. There's a whole trend in Venezuela, not only at the university level, but at the other levels, elementary, at other levels in terms of professionals and people that are trained in different skills. There's a whole wave of education and educational programs in Venezuela at the moment. And also another ministry that is important for this church is not only working with women, but now it has become very important with the elderly people. And in that area they are joining not only governmental agencies but with other churches to provide spaces for the elderly. This is very important. And I see our partnership, and I will stress this now. When it started in '63, they said, we don't want to become disciples. We don't want for the disciples to become Pentecostals. We want for all of us to be in this Christian fellowship and learn from each other and do God's mission together. And if we can help the churches in the United States in their mission with our experience, and then we can learn from your experience and your ministry, we will be together in mission forever.